Welcome back, and today we take up lesson 2 entitled Job Order Costing. Chapter 2 provides an in-depth look at a job order costing system. It describes how direct materials and direct labor costs are accumulated on jobs, and then we address manufacturing overhead, an indirect cost that is allocated to jobs. Finally, we take a detailed look at the flow of costs through a company's accounting system using journal entries. Because we have no class meeting this week because of the Labor Day holiday, I will briefly comment on the major ideas in the chapter. We start by discussing absorption costing. This is the most commonly used method of assigning cost to units of production. It includes all manufacturing costs, fixed and variable. We say that the jobs or the work absorbs all of the costs. So we just apply total costs, and this is done in 2 steps. Job order costing is used, by the way, when many different products are produced each period. Later on, we'll contrast this with what's called process costing, where we produce a single type of product all period long. Job order costing, we start by measuring the direct labor and direct materials costs. These are generally accounted for on job cost tickets, paperwork that follows the job through the factory floor as it moves from station to station. Use of materials that go into the product are recorded on the direct materials sheet, and the different workers that work on the project record their hours or time spent on the project on a work ticket. So we have applied the direct cost. Now overhead, which is an indirect cost, has to be allocated to the jobs using what's called an allocation base. Allocation bases can be based on a variety of things, direct labor hours, machine hours, so forth. And the chapter shows us how to calculate that allocation base using different methods. Once the allocation base is known, we simply apply the dollar amount per unit to the number of units, and that becomes the overhead charged to that particular job. Since the overhead is estimated ahead of time and not known until the entire accounting period has ended and all costs have been accounted for, we then have to do some adjustments, and we do this by measuring the either underapplied or overapplied overhead costs for the jobs. On page 91, you'll find an interesting little hint, and I'll read it briefly here to you. This chapter is based on the concept of normal costing. Normal cost systems assign actual direct material and labor costs to jobs. However, it does not assign actual overhead costs to jobs. Instead, the predetermined overhead rate is used to apply overhead cost. This rate is multiplied by the actual quantity of the allocation base consumed to a job to apply overhead cost. Many companies use normal cost systems. However, companies can also use other types of cost systems, such as actual costing and standard costing, that we will discuss in later chapters. Again, the chapter concludes with a nice summary that you should take a close look at to understand what's going on. We will spend time next week when we meet in reviewing some of the journal entries toward the end of the chapter, but do please read those ahead of time so you have a complete understanding of the direct and indirect cost application for specific jobs. The chapter gives several examples of job costing. For instance, building an airplane. Each airplane is a separate job, or building houses. Each house in a custom housing track is a separate job. And a large builder might be building a variety of projects in addition to housing, maybe shopping centers and office buildings, etc., warehouses. Each construction project is tracked as a separate job in the system. Process costing is the applying cost to a continuous system like toothpaste. Day in, day out, the system spits out tubes of toothpaste, each identical to the last. However, the costs will vary over time because of rising and falling prices of both labor and materials, as well as changes in the overhead. So we have here in chapter 2 rather, our beginning of our introduction to costing systems and how they're applied. There's a variety of opportunities, but again, absorption costing, applying all costs to all jobs on a rational basis, is the goal here, and the most commonly and most adaptable used system available for costing products. We'll continue on with this subject in chapter 3 and 4, and this time a single chapter, but next lesson look forward to reading 2 much shorter chapters. This is probably the longest chapter in the book, chapter 2. Okay, I wish you luck on this, and get your homework in. We'll see you in the next week's meeting. Bye-bye.